Syria is a humanitarian disaster. It has been for a long time. I think we are morally obliged to help those who suffer, but the wholesale relocation of Syrian refugees to the United States is a very bad idea. The United States should play a major role, a disproportionate role even. This is an international crisis and we are part of the world. Our technical, financial, medical, and logistical capabilities are enormous and should be utilized. But the recent outcry over visa restrictions has brought more heat than light to the discussion. There is not much in the way of effective advocacy. What's up with all the name-calling? That's not helpful. Merely being angry doesn't advance a cause. There are practical and effective ways of reducing the suffering of the Syrian people. Blocking a street or smashing the windows of a coffee shop are not practical or effective. The situation calls for humanitarian assistance, not tantrums. Might want to run that one past the Native Americans first. Oh, never mind, it's Australia. Hooray for refugees, fellow Australians. Not so much. Violence in Syria is nothing new. President Assad is a chip off the old block. Old boy ran the place for 30 years. He was as ruthless as they come. In 1982, he besieged his opponents in the city of Hama. The exact death toll is unknown, but estimates run as high as 40,000. The world hadn't seen that degree of barbarity since the slaughter at Lidicha and Oradour Sanglant. Here is President Assad daydreaming at mosque. What is he thinking? Will the Russians come through? The Iranians will, but what do they want in return? Or maybe he's just wondering who he should gas next. There are tensions between many groups. The Alawis, who are a Shia offshoot. Assad is an Alawite. There are Sunnis, which is what ISIS is. It's important to note that not all Sunnis are part of ISIS. Let go of my rope. No, the rope is mine. There are Baathists and the Muslim Brotherhood. Both are political organizations. Nice logo. There are anti-Israeli activities and interference in Lebanon by Hezbollah. They take their marching orders from Assad and Iran. The only group I like are the Kurds, who are an ethnic group. The Kurds don't want to emigrate. They're going to stay and fight. They remind me of my pioneer roots. Even the girls are badass. Their territory straddles 4 countries, but they deserve a homeland. The Turks, Iranians, Iraqis, and Syrians won't like it, but too bad. Syria is a battle of all against all. Syria and the rest of the Middle East, for that matter, consists of countries that are not nations. What I mean is, at the end of the First World War, a group of British and French diplomats carved up what had been the Ottoman Empire, and they did a horrible job. They drew borders in a way that placed people who don't like each other very much inside the same country. Just look at the map. Real countries don't look like this. It was drawn by a bunch of politicians after a liquid lunch. No, really. There's even a jigjaggy in the Jordanian border known as Winston's Hiccup. Nearly 100 years later, the situation is still complicated, confusing, and nothing we want to involve ourselves with. But Americans do need to get a better understanding of the dynamics at work here. Those who presume to comment publicly about Syria are often misinformed and dangerously naive. Have we learned nothing from our experience in Iraq? Saddam was a bad guy, no doubt, but he was a toothless tiger. Do we really want to remove Assad in favor of some other strongman? Do we really think that Syria would be better off with a new dictator? After Iraq, after all the dead and wounded and $1.1 trillion down a rat hole, we have to be a lot smarter. I want to give a shout out to my Arabic language instructors at Northern Illinois University, Miss Inji and Miss Fairuz. They were Egyptian. I learned a lot about Arab culture in addition to language. There were many native speakers in my class who took it for an easy A, but they messed up the grade curve. It's not as if the United States is the only option for refugees. To listen to the advocates of blanket resettlement, the only 2 choices are to allow a wholesale slaughter of the innocents or the resettlement of 5 million refugees in North America and Europe. The opening of our borders would be a disaster. Do you know who wants to come here? About half the world wants to come here. Anybody that wants to come to the United States, put up your hand. That's what I thought. I have to disagree with the public position of one of my former political science professors, Dr. Manfred Wenner. He's Swiss, but must have learned English on Long Island. He is the author of a number of books on the Middle East. His position is, and I am paraphrasing, that Muslims are decentralized and diverse and do not represent a monolithic political bloc or a threat. I disagree. A large influx of refugees will be disruptive and dangerous. It's just not worth the risk. There's other ways that we can help. Amnesty International noted that the 6 wealthy Gulf states, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Bahrain, have offered 0 resettlement places for Syrian refugees. For reasons of culture and climate, these countries make the most sense for relocation. They could and should accept the vast majority of refugees. Wake up, America. We can help these people without putting peace and security at risk. That's what I think. You can put your comments below.